Hello everyone and welcome to the 3.0 overview for the Serenity Shadow. Oh yes, my favourite DPS class in the game now. We're playing as the Serenity Shadow, and again a class that I'm having is my main DPS raiding class. Again, I'm going to be a healer as a main, but if you ever want to do DPS, this is the go-to class. It's always more fun to play as melee. I mean, sure, the game is a lot harder as a melee class, but if you're going to play a melee class, this is the one to play, because it has one of the best gameplay styles. Basically, we never have to stand still. It's fantastic. We never have to stand still. We got the movement, we've got the dot damage, we've got decent sustained damage, we've got decent burst damage. I love this spec. I don't even care if it's not the best spec in the game. Whether it is, whether it isn't, I don't care, because I love this spec. Anyway, let's take a look at our utilities first of all. Not great, I have to say. These are not very good utilities, I have to say. They're kind of boring, to be honest with you. Again, we go for Clarity. Reduce the cooldown of Mind Snap by 2 seconds, Force of Will by 30 seconds, and Force Speed by 5 seconds. Again, if we need to interrupt things, Mind Snap is our interrupt, Force of Will is our break out of stun, and Force Speed is for getting out of things, so it's always good to have that. I again take Lambast, again, increase the damage dealt by Whirling Blow by 25%. Whirling Blow is our AoE attack, it's our melee AoE, a little spin attack that we do. Again, nice for AoE. I tend to take Shadowy Veil, which increases our armor rating by 30%. In Force Technique or Shadow Technique. It does have a few things for the tank. Targets we guard gain Shadowy Veil when they take damage. It increases their damage reduction, but that is not for us. Not for us, that's for the tank spec, really. But again, getting that 30% armor rating while your Force Technique. Force Technique is, of course, the one we're going to be in for Serenity. Serenity used to be Balance. That's if you want to know. Anything else that we want to take? Reducing the cooldown of Force Stun, nah, not for us. Reduce all damage taken while stunned by 30%. Again, if there's a boss in PvE, PvP you're going to take this, but for PvE, if there's a boss that is going to stun you, then yeah, you might as well take that if you know there's a boss. Force Wave, unbalances the target and immobilize it. Nah, it's not really good enough for raiding. Misdirection you tend to take while questing, increases the stealth movement speed by 15% and effective stealth level by 5%. We tend to take this for questing rather than Clarity, just go with that one, tend to be, but there's nothing really major that's going to improve. Again, that one, Mental Defense, is PvP and it's situational in PvE. We look at our masterful ones. I tend to go with Mind over Matter. Again, increases the duration of resilience by 2 seconds and Force Speed by 0.5 of a second. Again, getting out of things with Force Speed is important, because again, movement is the key here in 3.0. Certainly a lot of the raid bosses, movement tends to be the key with them. And increasing the duration of resilience, of course, resilience is our main defensive cooldown. Purges all hostile effects and increases your chance to resist force and tech attacks by 100%, getting that extra few seconds up, so it's up to 5 seconds. Just again improves our survivability. Another one I go for is Force Harmonics. Reduce the cooldown of Force Wave, don't care about that, but we do gain the 3 charges of Force Potency. Force Potency helps our 75% crit chance for our force attacks, so that comes in handy. Have a third stack of that. Pretty nice. Everything else kind of sucks. Nerve-wracking we don't want, really. It's useless for raiding. You might think that that's a good one. Again, targets controlled by our Spinning Kick or Force Stun take 5% more damage from all sources. We can't use this on raid bosses because of course you can't stun them, so it's useless for raiding, really. PvP will take it. If you're questing, it's a good one. Because again, just use your Force Stun. We tend not to use Spinning Kick in Serenity spec. It's kind of useless for us, but Force Stun is pretty nice. So we get 5% damage while they're controlled from all sources. Again, it's good for questing, if you're doing dailies and you're fighting an elite or something like that that's giving you a problem. Pop your Force Stun and you get a 5% boost to your damage. It is useless though for raiding. PvP is where this is going to come in handy. It's going to help out with your burst damage. The only other thing is it would be useful in infiltration spec, because that's when we use spinning kick. So again, it would be useful for that, but again, it is useless for raiding and HM flashpoints. Egress, again, probably going to take that for HM flashpoints. It's the same with the Sage. Force Speed removes all movement impairing effects and grants immunity to them, so you're going to use that in combination with this one. Again, increasing the duration of Force Speed and getting the immunity to movement impairing effects. You're going to use that for some HM flashpoints. I would actually take all three of these and just take one of these two, depending on what we get in an HM flashpoint. You can put 3 skills in here, I should point out, and you can just take 1 from Heroic if you want. You have to have 3 in Skillful to unlock Masterful. You have to put a minimum of 2 in Masterful to unlock Heroic, but you can put a third one in there, so I'd keep these 3 for HM flashpoints personally. Sapped Mind, when damage breaks your mind mez prematurely, the target will suffer Sapped Mind, reducing the damage it deals by 25% for 10 seconds. Again, you could argue maybe in flashpoints that if we're CCing things, but most DPS just tend to break them these days. Again, I've CC'd quite a few things in flashpoints and had them CC'd. Again, subduing techniques, again, increases the duration of Force Slow. Tends to be kind of not what we want in PvE. PvP, it's not too bad, again, but PvE, nah, they don't really want that, because again, we're at melee range, so increasing the duration of Force Slow is kind of pointless, really. It's kind of pointless. Fade, reduce the cooldown of Blackout and Force Cloak by 30 seconds. Again, while questing, this could come in handy. PvP, again, it would come in handy as well. But again, we tend only to be using Force Cloak in PvE if someone dies and we want to try and res them. So it tends to be very situational. Maybe take that, but I would prefer Force Harmonics and Mind Over Matter are the 2 I tend to go with. For Heroic, I tend to go with Sturdiness is a good one. While Deflection is active, we are immune to stun, sleep, lift and incapacitating effects. This is quite nice. Again, if we're getting knocked around a little bit, then it's pretty good. If we're getting stunned a lot, it's nice to have. Deflection is our other defensive cooldown. I'll just show you it. Right there, there is there. Increases our ranged and melee defenses by 50% for 12 seconds. So the other thing, there's not a lot really great here. I tend to take Shadow Shelter. Again, that was the old tanking one. Basically, your phase walk, it passively increases all healing by 3%. When you deploy a phase walk, it increases the healing done by the healers that are within 5 meters of your phase walk by 5%. Pretty handy in a group situation. Tends to be pretty handy. The only other one is Cloak of Resilience. Activating Force Cloak grants 2 seconds of resilience. Again, we'd probably use that in conjunction with Fade. Never really felt the need to use that. Again, it's only 2 seconds of resilience, so yeah, we tend to only be popping our cloak basically when we have to revive someone in PvE, and even then it rarely works. So again, it's kind of not the best for raiding. These, not the best again. When a target recovers from stuns, Humbling Strike. A target recovers from stunned by your spinning kick or force stun, its movement speed is slowed again. Can't use it on raid bosses. Force Pull we don't use really. Low Slash immobilizes the target. Serenity Strike, which is one of our new abilities. So again, we can't immobilize bosses, kind of useless. Force Cloak, increasing our movement speed while it's active. Again, maybe motion control we might take. But I tend to go with Sturdiness. There's not a lot of good things here, to be honest with you. Containment or Force Lift breaks early from damage. The target is stunned for 2 seconds. Again, can't use that in raids. Kind of pointless. So we end up taking Shadow Shelter, Sturdiness. You'd probably get rid of Sturdiness maybe, and take Egress. again, it's good for the healer Shadow Shelter. Again, if there's another Shadow in the group and the other Shadow has Shadow Shelter, if you're doing a 4-man HM Flashpoint, then you might consider dropping Shadow Shelter because you only need one of them. So it's good. It's always good to have that utility, because again, you're giving the healers a 5% buff. Again, it used to be exclusive to the tank, but again, it's a good thing, but there's nothing else really. You could argue Cloak of Resilience maybe just to get another defensive cooldown out of Force Cloak, but Force Cloak has a very long cooldown. It's a very long cooldown to have 2 seconds of resilience, especially when we're going here and gaining 5 seconds of resilience in this one. So take your pick really, but I like Shadow Shelter. Again, your healers will appreciate that. As a healer, I always like, as someone who plays a healer, I always like that. So, right. Let's get to what's new. Basically, our new ability, we get 1 new strike and 1 kind of dot replacement. So our new strike is Serenity Strike. Serenity Strike strikes a target and heals us for 50% of the damage done. So if it does 2k, it'll heal us for 1k. Basically, that's what it means. Half of the damage done will be converted to healing for us. Again, it's a nice thing. The other new one is Vanquish. Now, Vanquish replaces our Mind Crush. We don't use Mind Crush anymore. We are using Vanquish. Pretty similar, acts pretty similar, does a bit more damage, bit more dot damage, and also increases the damage that the target will take from force attacks by 5%. What else have we got that's new? I don't think there's anything really that new here, to be honest with you. No, there's nothing else really new, just periodic damages. Oh yeah, there's the dot spreading, which we'll cover in the AoE rotation. Where is it? There it is there. Prolific Justice. Force and balance spread your periodic, force breach, and sever force effects to the targets. So yeah, that's pretty decent. Balance also overwhelms the targets, and overwhelmed targets take 10% more damage from area attacks, which is pretty nice. We'll cover that in our AoE rotation though. So that is our main thing. Dot spreading. Again, we are a dot class. So our rotation, basically, there's 2 phases to this rotation. Basically, if you think of this rotation as having 2 phases, there is our dot phase and there is our strike phase. Now the dot phase, generally what we want to be opening with is Vanquish. Now the old rule of playing a Shadow was never ever channel, never cast Vanquish. However, we do get a 5% force buff, or force damage taken on the target. So again, it is a decent opener. So again, our force attacks are like force and balance, force sever force, and force breach. So getting them damage boosts is pretty nice. So again, we tend to pop our force potency at first. We do get our 3 charges, and we're gonna go and channel our Vanquish, get that off, pop up our force thing, get our sever force up, get these 2 dots up, and then we move to the second phase. Now the second phase is all about priorities. Basically, if we have Spinning Strike lit up, we are going to use Spinning Strike. Bear in mind that when we use Spinning Strike with Force Breach up, we are going to get the cooldown, the instant cast Vanquish there. So when you're in the second phase, after we got all our dots up, when we're in the second phase, again, it's about priorities. Your number 1 priority is Spinning Strike. Your number 2 priority is Serenity Strike. And if those 2 are on cooldown, it is Double Strike. If you have low force, it's Saber Strike. Because again, if we have low force, we tend to use Saber Strike. Serenity Strike, I'll show you what it looks like. There you can see we got half of it back as healing, which is pretty nice. Pretty decent attack. Serenity Strike we are going to use on cooldown, so after we hit our Spinning Strike or our Serenity Strike, depending on if Spinning Strike is proc. Again, if Spinning Strike procs, you're going to use it whenever it procs. Basically, as soon as this lights up, you want to be using it, regardless of where it is in your rotations. As soon as it lights up, use it. If you have Spinning Strike not procced or is on cooldown. Serenity Strike is your second priority. Then you get your Vanquish back up again. Vanquish only lasts for 6 seconds. So it should be off by the time we're at this phase where it's instacast. Again, instacast and costs no force. It's good for force management. Our basic filler is always going to be Double Strike unless Serenity Strike is available. So Serenity Strike we are going to keep on cooldown. Bear in mind though that Spinning Strike is our #1 priority. So if these are both available, Spinning Strike, then it'll be it'll probably proc Vanquish. If it procs Vanquish, we fire off Vanquish, and then Serenity Strike. Oh, that is a lot to get in. Oh yeah, we also want to pop Battle Readiness as well. Battle Readiness tends to be more of a defensive thing now. Really, I mean, it used to increase our accuracy and our armor penetration. Now it immediately restores 15% of our max health, increases the damage of all techniques by 50%, and increases the chance to trigger their effects. So Force Technique triggers from, it triggers from both melee and force attack. So again, we can pop that at the beginning. We pop Potency and Battle Readiness at the beginning, get these off, get that Vanquish off. Get that nice little dot off, we get our Serenity Strike, or Spinning Strike should I say. Then we get our dots up, we get that off, and then we get our Vanquish off. Did it come off cooldown? I didn't have a chance to look at it. And then we're kind of into this rotation, back into this. We're just waiting for things to come off cooldown. We're waiting for our Force and Balance. Again, we always keep that on cooldown. And we're using our Sever Force, and then we're of course back to the Force Breach. It's quite a simple rotation really. It's not a difficult rotation. Some people think this is pretty difficult, but basically it's Force and Balance on cooldown, keep these 2 dots refreshed, always use Vanquish when it's off the proc, keep these 2 on cooldown as well, and that's basically it. There's no real need. Project and Telekinetic Throw, we tend to keep them keybound. Again, they're good for questing. Project is nice for a quick stun. If you just want to quickly stun quick CC on a normal target. So it's just like that, if you just want a quick CC. Or if there's any reason you have to be at range, say the boss has a big giant circle around it. Big giant circle that's preventing us from doing melee damage, then, you know, maybe we could channel off a Telekinetic Throw. It's better than doing nothing though, because if you can't get within range to use any of your strike abilities, then it's worth doing. They are worth doing. So I wouldn't say never use them, but as part of our rotation, as part of our main rotation, we are never going to use Telekinetic Throw or Project. Project is good for emergency CC. Again, if there's a standard enemy attacking the healer, throwing out a Project is a good idea. So it does work. So having them keybound, you know, it's nice to have them keybound. Some people say never ever keybind these. I'm not one of them who says that, because again, there are situations where we do it. Particularly if you did the Eyeless was one of them in the Rakghoul event, where it had the big Crush circle. We could stand outside, wait for Crush to finish, and we had Telekinetic Throw going off. Because again, it's doing damage. I mean, it's ticking damage off, as well as our dots ticking, our Telekinetic Throws ticking, and then we get back in and get to our strikes. So basically that is pretty much it. That's pretty much it for our single target. Our AoE rotation has changed again. We have our Prolific Justice, or dot spreading. So basically your AoE rotation used to be Force and Balance and then Whirling Blow. But now, however, what we want to do, I don't know if we can get this off here, but we're going to try and spread the dots to these 2 combat targets. I don't know, I think they're too far apart. They might be too far apart. Nah, they should be okay for that. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your 2 dots up. You're going to put your Force Breach up, you're going to put your Sever Force up, and then you're going to get your Force and Balance up. And you can see we have spread the dots to this one. We've got dots on that one, dots on that one. Okay, so we have the 2 dots on both the targets, and then our filler is just Whirling Blow. It tends to be for AoE. These are too far apart to demonstrate that, but hopefully you got that. We saw this one. We'll try it again. We put the dots up on this one, so you can see we got our 2 dots right here. We put it on there, and as you can see, they have, well, we dropped combat before we could see it. That was nice. But again, the dots transfer, these two, it's only these two dots. It's only your Force Breach and Sever Force. So whatever one you want, put them up. I tend to put Sever Force up first, just because it has a longer range. So if we're running in, Sever Force, get in range, Force Breach, and then get our Force and Balance up. It's pretty nice to get those dots spread out. It will spread to, I think it's 8 targets. It's all the targets that Force Breach hits, I think it is. Force and Balance spread your periodic effects, your periodic Force Breach and Sever Force effects to the targets it damages, so long as the target is already affected. Yeah, so again, as long as the target is affected, so if the first target is affected, then the second target and, you know, the up to 8 targets can be affected by this. It's quite a good AoE rotation actually, it's quite good for AoE. And then we're just using Whirling Blow. Bear in mind that Whirling Blow will get a 10% damage boost because you get overwhelming. Yes, overwhelmed targets take 10% more damage from area attacks. So again, your Whirling Blow, which is our area attack, tends to be our #1 area attack. Oh, there's a Sentinel. A poor little Sentinel who got nerfed. See, that's the good thing about this class, is you do have the mobility. One of the things is we can use almost everything on the move. Obviously, our strikes require us at melee range, but we can use things like Force and Balance. Force and Balance has a nice range to it. Again, look at what they did. They took away the orbital strike of the Scoundrel because they said they didn't want melee classes using ranged attacks, and of course we have 2 ranged attacks. Well, technically 3 ranged attacks actually. We got Sever Force, Force and Balance, and Vanquish. And technically we got Project and Telekinetic Throw as ranged attacks, so you know. Just saying is all. Just saying, you know, why can't they make that 10 meters then if they didn't want Orbital Strike as a 30 meter thing? Just gonna say that, just gonna throw that out there, just that little dig that we have. Again, let's look at gearing, shall we? This character is not too badly optimized. Again, we've got our accuracy. Accuracy is the priority, accuracy 100%. Accuracy 100% melee. We're actually a little bit over, we could probably drop one of the augments. 110 force is your target. Critical chance 25 is a good base. I'm in kind of 186/192. I've got one of the set bonus species for 192, and I've got the offhand for 192. I got the Masashi offhand as well. The stat that we are very short on is surge. 63% surge. Too low. It's far too low, but again, if you look at the amount of gear that we have accuracy, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of gear with accuracy in them to get to the 100% accuracy. That is in 186. Now 2 of them are, I think, no, in fact only one of them is, no, 2 of them are 192, 111 accuracy. Some are even, I have 2 accuracy augments which are blue as well. I could probably ditch one of these accuracy augments. We'll probably swap that for, because 46 gives us 0.5%, so there's no reason to be 100.5. So we'll probably drop that and probably go for power again, because 25 is good for the crit. A lot of things benefit from crit. Of course our dots benefit from crit, obviously. The more critical dot ticks you get, the better, because we're doing lots of little attacks. And we've also got things that benefit, where is our thing? Okay, but yeah, there it is. Increase the critical strike damage dealt by double strike, spinning strike, and serenity strike by 30%. So that's pretty nice. Again, getting a bit of crit off. We do have our crit bonus, which I think is just baked into the class. It must be. We get our little what's our little thing? I think it's our dots that give us that little crit bonus. Where is it? See if I can find it. There it is. Force synergy. Critical hits with force attacks increase your melee critical chance by 5% for 10 seconds. So again, I would suggest 25% is pretty decent in 186 gear. If you're short on crit, again, augment for things like willpower. I think I've got one willpower augment. And yeah, one willpower. I had 27% crit originally, but I swapped the boots for power surge rather than crit surge because I just felt my base damage was too low. That's the problem. If you get too much crit, then your base damage can suffer a little bit. So 25% crit it's again a decent place to be. We're nearly 26% crit actually in 186. 192 we're probably going to look towards maybe 27% crit for 192. So we see we're in between 25 and 27. We're quite close to 26 actually. So we've got what, 3 192 PCs, 2 of which have crit in them, crit accuracy. It's better than nothing. I mean, again, we've gone for power accuracy in the head and chest. Just again, because we do want power, because power does give us the base damage increase again, our melee and our force damage from power. Of course, we don't really need any more willpower, to be honest with you, from augments. So the rest of this gear, I probably will augment. As you notice, I have got a bunch of legacy gear because I tend to share it with my Sage. I don't really do ops on the Sage. That's why I've optimized this for my Shadow. I was going to say assassin there, but again, so the first thing we are going to upgrade, the next piece of gear that we're going to upgrade is the boots. They are going to be our priority because we want power surge, or anything with power surge in it, in fact, is what we're going to go for. That's going to be our priority, is power surge, because our surge is a bit too low. So our next kind of stat priority, I did change these bracers and belt to power because by default they are crit, so I did swap them around. For power, I still have a 178, the Sky Ridge Force Lords package, just because I had accuracy in it. I could have gone for these ones. These are quite nice. You get these from the GTN, or you can craft them if you have a biochemist crafter. Again, they have accuracy, power and crit. They're quite nice stats actually. 186 gear as well. So you get your 102 accuracy, your 84 power and your 27 crit. Pretty nice. I could go and buy another one of these actually, but again, I'm going to probably ditch the 2 accuracy augments maybe, and we'll see where we are with that. So that's on my to-do list, because that's a 178 piece, and we generally want to get a bit higher, get a bit more endurance, get a bit more of our main stat, and get a bit more crit out of it as well. Probably we're going to drop crit, and our crit's probably going to go back down to 25% if we plot another one of them, but again, it's going to increase our power. This is us unstimmed. I only currently have the old nano infused resolve stims. However, my scoundrel just learned the blue anodyne resolve stim, so we're gonna ditch these. I just used them because I was doing a story mode raid, so I just tended to use these. Again, this character not a crafter at all. What did we pick? I picked Artifice. I don't even know why I picked that, because I leveled this class in the 12 times XP. That's why we don't have anything. Again, we went for the Rusan relics, power and primary stat. Again, we've gone for pretty simple really. Probably augment these as well. So we're just augmenting this character out, and then focusing on getting power surge is going to be the priority, but we're trying not to drop accuracy. That's the main thing. I'm probably going to drop the accuracy augment from, yeah, that's got 1 in there. So it tends to be 46 accuracy, tends to buy us 0.5%, so getting that down to just 100, there's no benefit there, because again, we could put power in that and get more DPS out of that. So that is going to be our priority. Anyway, this video has gone on a long time, so thank you for joining me for this video, and we'll see you again soon. And this is the best class to play right now. This is my favourite. All the other melee classes have to stand still except this one. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again soon, and goodbye.